Hey crafting world, what's up? You got Sabrina here from Mindcrafts by Sabrina, where our crafts are anything but square. Today I want to share with you guys how to draw on some puzzles. I found these coloring puzzles at Michael's for $1 the other day. They're 8.5 by 11. They're meant for you to draw on and then color them. They're 48 pieces. They're pre-cut. They're perfed at the middle where the puzzle pieces connect, so that way it can be held. It doesn't just fall apart on you. So that's what we're going to be working on making today. And here's a sample of one that I did. Yes, I did that. I put together 2 stress relievers, an adult coloring, and a puzzle all in one. I really like how this one came out. So this is what we're going to be working on making. So let's get started. I don't have any fancy record my screen kind of gizmo, so I'm going to try and record my iPad here while I work. And I'm going to try as much as possible to keep my hands out of the way of the screen. So I typed up the instructions that we're going to go through. So for those of you who just want to read it and get right to it, here you go. I'll post this in the description below. So for starters, we're going to prepare our image. I have 3 different options for you to prepare those images. We're going to A, pull a pre-made draw image, where B, create your own or upload your own coloring page, or C, just make your own coloring page out of a pre-layered image. We're going to talk about prepping your puzzle, making your image, how to convert it to scoring, how to attach everything together so that it's ready for cut. And then we're going to go ahead and actually draw our puzzle down. So I'm going to show you how to move your rollers, how to place the puzzle onto the mat, how we're going to work on aligning it, and then finally actually draw it out. I do have 2 tips for you before we get started. One is not to size the image too big. Your puzzle is 8.5 by 11. You don't want to make your image exactly that big. You want to kind of make it a little smaller and center it onto it, because you want to prevent the pen from going off the edge of your puzzle. And I'll show you what I mean here. You can see I had my image go right up to the ends, and you can see where the marker fell off to try to write it and come back. And as I try to come back onto the puzzle, it bent up the ends of the puzzle. Subsequently, it also bent up the tip a little bit. It wasn't too major. I was able to pause it, pull it out, and kind of fix the tip a little bit before I continued. So lesson learned, don't make it that large. 2, if you can, watch the pen. This image here took an hour to cut. So I just sat down and watched some Netflix as it cut and kept my eye on it, so that in case the pen popped out. I think, I'm not sure if this is the reason, but I'm thinking because of the cracks in the puzzle as it's trying to draw across it, it shakes it a little bit while it's in the cartridge, causing the pen to pop out. I did put a little Scotch tape on mine to kind of keep it a little bit more snug in there, and it did seem to work. The first 3 puzzles I worked on, I had to continuously pause it and press in my pen back because it would pop up. This time around, I didn't find myself having to do that, and this was a whole hour cut, so the tape worked well enough. I did pause it periodically and push it in at points where I felt, okay, I can pause it. That way I can just secure that it was snug. I don't think I needed to, but I did it just to be safe. So those are just the 2 tips I have for you. Let's get started. Okay, so I mentioned 3 different options. The first option is to use an image from Design Space that's already set to draw. And the way you'll find those is going into Images, and in your search bar, you want to type in the word draw. And this is going to pull up all images that are set up in a draw fashion. And you'll notice them because they look more like coloring style pages. They're more just lines versus actual layers. You can also select the information button to view the description, and in the description you'll see it says draw. So that's how we're going to know we're sitting on a drawing image. And you can select the colored images if you would like, and you can select a regular image if you would like. Either way it goes, they are both set to draw. So when we bring them into Design Space and look at our layers, there are preset on the right and the color that it's going to be. In this case, if you wanted something like this, I would just, it already has a border basically, so I would go ahead and size this up to 8.5 by 11 if I could. So it goes 7.3 by 11, and then you can go ahead and send it off to write. Because you have multiple colors, it's going to prompt you each time to add a new pen at the time that it needs to be. I personally chose not to do this option because I didn't want it to be a paint by colors. I wanted them to be creative and color it whichever way they wanted to color it. So I'm going to do the good old traditional coloring page. But you can see you can use these. Here with just a regular coloring sheet, it's set to write. Again, you're going to size it, attach it, and send it off to the mat. That's option 1. Option 2, I have listed as option 3, but we're going to go over it now. So option 2 is to take a layered image and create your coloring lines from that layered image. Now I'm going to use this aerial image because it's an easy one. It's clean, it's clear, we can do it. So we're going to take this image. If we look at the image, we can see all the pieces are sliced out. So everything leads back to that black lining in the background, our black solid piece, to give us our lines for our coloring page. So what we're going to do is ungroup it. And we want to hide our black layer back there because that's what we want to keep. At this point, you can do one of two things. If you want to draw the lines in color, you would change each layer individually to write and then select your color. In my case, because we're going to do no color, we're just going to select everything. Make sure it's all gathered there, and we're going to weld it all together. Now that it's welded, you can go back to your hidden image there and slice them out. So I'm going to select slice, and now we get rid of our solid, and now we're left here with our colored lines. If I turn my grid on, you'll be able to see the grid goes through it. So it is a full coloring page style lining. Now this image is ready. You create your square, line it up, attach it, send it off. That's option 2. The final option is just to upload your own image. You can either find the coloring page, you can do a black and white, you can do layered, either way it goes. I found a coloring image that my son liked. His birthday's tomorrow and he's having a pirate theme, so he really wanted this coloring page. So I just imported it to Inkscape and converted it there. If you have more simple image, you can upload it through DS, clean it in there, whatever fashion it is that you use to convert your images. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that image. And here we have it. So we've gotten through how to prep our image. So now we have 3 different options. We know how we're going to get our image. Here my image is set to cut, but I want to change it to write. And we're going to go ahead and pick a good old black tip there. So now it's ready. Now I just have to size it accordingly, make my puzzle template, and go from there. So we're going to insert a basic shape. It's going to be a square. Unlock it so that we can make it disproportionate. And we're going to go 8.5 by 11. Change your box or your rectangle to score. You don't want it to write because you don't really want it to draw, and we definitely do not want it to cut. Our score lines are just going to A, allow our image to stay centered in the rectangle, and B, allow us to align where our image is going to start to draw on our mat. So it's going to help us with both of those. So now I want to align my picture. My picture can't be more than 8.5 in width, so I definitely need to change that. And as I mentioned, I don't suggest doing it as wide as the thing, so I'm going to bring it down to like an 8.2. Oh, wait, sorry. I want to lock my portion, so that it stays proportionate. Okay, so at an 8.2 by a 9.6, I'm going to take both of these and I'm going to align them. Currently it's centered. I'm going to bring it down just a pinch because then I'm going to add his name in here. So I'm going to go to text. In this case, I don't want, typically when we're writing fonts, we look for the fonts that have a writing style. In this case, I truly do want a bubble letter style font because I want him to be able to color in his name when he's doing it. So a thicker font is going to be really good for this option. So I'm going to do this outline. And maybe I'll just throw his name up there. So I also want his name to be in right. We're going to keep it in the same marker so that way it does it at the same time. And then I'm just going to weld these and cross my finger. Actually, I'm not going to weld them. Sometimes when there's way too many nodes and I weld, it crashes. So I'm not even going to go there. They're both set to right. I'm just going to attach both of those right to my square or my rectangle. So now we have one layer here. We have our score line, which is the size of our puzzle. We have our images that are going to write. They are both in write mode. Now we're ready to go. We're going to go ahead and click make it and send it to the mat. Okay, so now that we're on our mat, and I didn't put this in these tips or the step-by-step because I forgot, but I'll mention it. I'm going to change my mat to a 12 by 24 mat only because it's going to give me a little wiggle room to shift it down because I want to lower it. I want to place it exactly where I place it on my mat. So I'm going to go ahead and change this just to give me some wiggle room. And then I'm going to place my puzzle on the 2-inch column mark and the 1-inch row mark. This is going to allow my my puzzle to sit on my mat and avoid the main green rows. When we get to the Cricut, I'm going to show you, we're going to move the white rows out the way so they'll avoid your puzzle, but those main green and gray rows that are off to the side in the Cricut machine will still get over it if you're pressed up against the side. So I try to center mine more on the mat to prevent that as much as possible. Also, if you do keep those end rollers on them, it can smudge your ink. So here you can see I have kind of this line here. That's because that end grain roller was on my mat. So as it kept going up and down before the ink dried out, it kind of caused that line there. So hindsight, I'm giving you guys a tip to change it to be portrait. So that way you have, your skinny width going there, and then you can try and avoid those markers. So I'm going to set it at 2 and 1 and hit continue there. And here I have my mat. Please excuse its dirtiness. I'm going to also set it at the 2 and 1 mark. Now, I'm going to set it slightly off only because I know it cuts slightly off. But we're going to find out exactly where to align it once it's on the mat. That's where we have our score lines down there and our pre-square. So that score line is going to help us exactly where we're going to put it. So give me one moment while I attach this to the mat. And then I'll move the camera over here. So it's going to get bumpy. One moment. Okay, so here we have the Cricut, and we have these rows, the rollers there that are going to be in the way of our actual mat. So I'm just going to take these and I'm going to drag them off to the sides. I'm going to pull two this way and I'm going to pull two that way. And they are a little tough if they've never been moved before. This I'm just going to slide it out. So now you can see I have my whites up against my greens over here. It's going to clear my mat just fine. Neither of them are going to roll onto my mat. So I currently have it at 2 and 1. I'm going to insert my scorer. Actually, this is not my scorer. This is my engraving tool. But I'm going to use it as my scorer today because I'm not even going to press it all the way down. Hey crafters, here we are with part 2. The last video got shut off. I hit the button, so I'm sorry. So here we are. So I've moved the rollers so you can see that they're off to the sides. My mat's going to get cleared by them, so we're good. I have the score in here, so you can see it down here. And I'm going to stay close down here because I'm going to make sure that as it's coming and it's giving its pretend score, and I say pretend score because it's loosely in there. It's not even in there. So I'm going to watch it and make sure so that I can see where is it aligning to. Do I need to move my puzzle or not? So I can see there it's pretty good. Here on the end, it's pretty lined up there too. I didn't catch this top view, so let me see. And at the top, it's awfully good too. I'm really, really sorry. It's kind of hard to tell, but I just want you guys to see what I'm doing. So I'm just making sure that as this traced it, the tip of this really aligned up with my puzzle. And it did. So now it's ready. If it didn't, I would shift it. But because I've done a few of them, I kind of know where it's lining up at. So there we go. All right, so now it's ready. It's asking us to put in our pen. So I'm going to put in my pen. I'm using a Cricut pen. It originally was pink crystal, and it does not say it on here, but it is a fine tip one. Sorry, it's out of focus. But it's a fine tip one. Now you're going to see it's going to write in black, even though it's pink, because I took out the inside ink roll and I replaced it with a black ink roll from a regular Crayola marker because I didn't have a black fine tip pen and I didn't want to go spending money. So I just took out the pink, replaced it with the black, drew until the pink ran out and it was coming out black, and now I have a black pen. And it's going to fit in here without an issue because it is a Cricut original. So, pro tip for you guys. Again, reminder, I put a little tape on here just to kind of keep it a little more sturdier. And then we're going to go off to the horses. We're going to go ahead and hit start, and it's going to start coloring. I think this was totally cool. I mean, it can make so many different ideas. Teachers can use these to, Mother's Day gifts. Draw something pretty on there, make a nice drawing, and now the kids can color it, and mom can not only, see the beautiful artwork the kid drew, but build it up, together. So I think it'll be good for that. It'll be good for birthday parties. Perfect for craft fairs. I think that's kind of where I started this, was to try and have something that I can use in my kids' craft corners. Because I like to try and attract the kids, because if the kids see something they like and they pull at mom to stop, then hopefully I can get mom to shop as well. So I think these will make a great cheap addition to that. I like to have cheap things that if the kids have $2, $3, $4, $5 that they could afford to buy something. So considering that these puzzles are only $1, realistically, I mean, you can sell them for $2 and still make a full, 100% profit on it. So I think, the possibilities are super endless. So you can see it's going. We're on the way. There, I don't know if you heard it, but my pen just popped up. You might have seen it there. So my pen popped up, so I paused it and I pushed it back down. So I will pay a little bit closer attention while I'm here, come down closer to it so I can now pause it periodically and push it back in. And that's what I was saying. I'm not sure if it's just because the thickness of it and the pen is not going down as low as it should, or as low as it's used to, so with the pressure it's popping back up, or maybe as it falls into the cracks it has something to do with it. Not really sure. Either way it goes, I know that it happens, so I'm gonna just keep an eye on it. I know a lot of people had been asking what settings is the machine in. I don't know if it makes a difference. Today, right now, I have it on vinyl, only because I forgot to change it. The previous days, I had it on light cardstock. My guess is the pressure changes with the writing of the pen, depending on which one it is, but I'm not a Cricut expert by far. I just have fun. So I'm not sure if that's why it happens. However, it works on either setting. If you guys know anything concrete or know a reason as to why, drop it in the comments below and teach me something. So I'm going to pause it here. I'm going to let this finish up, and I'll come back when it's done and show you how to take it off the mat. So it's almost done. It's got just a little bit more to go. I've had to stop it a few times to push the pen back in. One thing I did forget to mention, similar to when you write, it leaves like the double lining if it's not a writing style font. It does the same thing with the coloring. It draws on both sides of the black line. In my very first one, I decided to take a Sharpie and color in the line so it looked like a solid coloring page line. And then all subsequent ones, I decided to hell with that. So I'll let whoever has them color it in. But I did want to just give you guys that heads up. Pause it real quick, and I don't know if you noticed it, but it did go in a little bit. That's what I'm talking about, it popping up a little bit, so I do try and keep an eye and push it back down. Looks like it's just putting the final touches. To go, inject that out there, and then in order to release it from the mat, my mat's not even really sticky like that, so I just roll it off the mat. Like I said, it's perforated, so most of the corners are placed together, so you could really handle it. It doesn't really come apart like that. So here it is, it's done. Because it's my son's, I'm going to test the smudge theory. by the time it even gets finished, most of it's dry. I'm sure probably the clouds, which were the last parts to draw on, are probably a little bit more wet, but as you can see, there's no smudge effect on a lot of those earlier parts. So here we are, final products. I hope you guys enjoy this. Please give me a thumbs up if it was helpful. Stop by my MindCrafts by Sabrina page, give me a thumbs up, and let me see your projects.